absolute disgrace! Get out of my sight!
You ruined my life, you liar. The woman's hand shook as she lifted the bottle. Her eyes were wild with pain. The man on the floor didn't fight back. He didn't even flinch. In the next second, the bleach poured, and the whole room froze. Because she had no idea the man she thought was a millionaire manager was living off the properties that were legally hers. The penthouse bathroom looked like a place built for peace. White marble, soft lights, a faint smell of lavender that never quite covered the sharp edge of expensive perfume. But peace had already left. It had slipped out weeks ago in small, quiet pieces. A late-night call that ended too fast. New suit bought without a reason. It's an apology that came before a question. Now all that was left was rage, and a woman ready to burn the last bridge she thought she had. Nadia Hale stood in the doorway, barefoot on cold tile, wearing an old shirt that once belonged to him. Her hair was messy, her cheeks wet, her breathing uneven. She had not slept, she had not eaten. Love doesn't always break with noise. Sometimes it breaks with silence that never ends. In her hands was a cleaning bottle, bleach meant for stains, not for people. She wasn't thinking about what it could do. She was thinking about what he had done or what she believed he had done. Across from her, leaning weakly against the tub, was her husband, Adrian Hale. He had a bruise forming on his cheek where he tripped earlier trying to stop her from leaving. His shirt was half untucked, tie loose, eyes dark with something close to regret, but not fully honest. He looked like the man she married, but he also looked like a stranger who had learned her weak spots and used them quietly. He managed properties for the rich, at least that's what she thought. Said it was his job, his pride, his way of building a future for them. He said he was a self-made millionaire, a man who carried their marriage on his back. Nadia had believed him because she wanted to. She wanted to build a life with someone who looked determined, who sounded sure. When they met, she was tired of men who floated through life without roots. Adrian had roots, or at least the story of roots. He spoke about responsibility, about legacy, about how power was earned. He charmed her family, paid for dinners, and promised her a calm life. Within a year, they were married. Within 2 years, she had moved into his world of sleek buildings and quiet, high-stakes meetings. What Nadia didn't know was that the world wasn't his. Her father had been a serious man who didn't trust Isley. He owned a modest but wide network of rental properties across the city. Not skyscrapers, but streets, homes, small offices, the kind of wealth that grows quietly and lasts. When Nadia was young, he took her to fix broken fences and check water meters, teaching her that land is not just money, it is responsibility. She loved those trips. She loved the way her father looked at tenants like they mattered. He used to tell her that people live inside your choices. Then he got sick. The kind of sickness that steals time without warning. In his final days, he brought Nadia close and said he wanted her protected, not burdened. He said he'd put everything in a trust for her, and that she wouldn't need to manage it until she was ready. Adrian was there too, holding her hand, nodding like a man of honor. Her father trusted him. He believed Adrian would guide her when the time came. Adrian did guide her, just not toward truth. After the funeral, papers were signed while Nadia's mind was still drowning. Adrian said he would handle the legal details so she could heal. He moved them into the penthouse, explained the rent checks and property income as his business success, and told her not to worry about numbers. He wrapped control in kindness. He called it love. She called it safety. But safety started to rot. The first crack came when she overheard him on a call with a woman late at night, voice low and sweet in a way he never used with her anymore. When she asked, he said it was a tenant issue. Then she found a receipt for a necklace she never received. He said it was for a client's wife. Then a tenant she met in the lobby thanked her for lowering their rent last month, calling her by her maiden name, not Hal. Nadia laughed awkwardly, thinking it was confusion. But the tenant looked sure. The tenant looked grateful. The tenant looked like someone who had been told the truth, Nadia started to dig in small ways, quiet ways. She checked a bank statement and found transfers from accounts she didn't recognize. She asked Adrian for clarity. He kissed her forehead and said she was stressed. She asked again, said she didn't trust him. The conversation always ended with her feeling guilty, like love meant silence. One morning she went to the old family office building, the one her father used to manage himself. She went without Adrian knowing. The lobby smelled like old wood and fresh coffee. The receptionist, a kind older woman, froze when she saw Nadia. "We didn't think you were coming in yet, Miss Cross. We've been sending the reports to Mr. Hale like he asked. But everything is still yours, of course." Nadia felt the floor tilt under her feet. She asked what she meant. The receptionist opened a drawer, pulled out a file, and slid it toward her. Trust documents, deeds, ownership papers with Nadia's name on every line. Not Adrian's. Nadia's. Her heart didn't just break. It rewired itself in the same second. She drove home in shock, hands tight on the wheel, pulse loud in her ears. The whole way, pieces fell into place. Adrian's sudden wealth. His power over tenants. His pride in properties he never showed her. The way he corrected her when she called them his buildings. They weren't his. They never were. When she walked into the penthouse, Adrian was already there, calm with a suitcase half packed. He didn't deny the papers when she threw them on the table. He didn't apologize either. He only said he did what he had to do. Said she was too soft to handle landlords. He said he protected her from stress. Said it like ownership was. A favor. Nadia saw then that her grief had been used as a door. He walked through it without looking back. The argument rose fast. Not screaming, but the kind of cold, cutting truth that makes every word feel like a blade. Adrian told her she should be grateful. Nadia asked about the calls and the necklace and the lies. Adrian finally admitted what she already knew. Woman on the phone wasn't a tenant. The necklace wasn't for a client. He had been living a double life on her inheritance, and he planned to leave her as soon as he had moved. Enough assets into accounts she couldn't touch. That was the moment. Nadia's pain turned into fire. She grabbed the bleach from the counter. Not as a weapon she planned, but as the nearest thing her shaking body could reach. Her mind was crowded with betrayal, father's memory, years of being played. Adrian stepped toward her, telling her to calm down, telling her she was overreacting. When he reached for her wrist, she yanked away, stumbled, the bottle tipped. The bleach splashed across his shirt and arms, soaking into fabric, running onto the tile. Adrian jolted back in shock, yelling more from surprise than pain. Froze too. Her rage collapsed into horror. She had wanted truth, not harm. For one quiet beat, they just stared at each other, breath heavy. The sharp chemical smell filling the room like a siren. Then Nadia moved. She grabbed towels, turned on water, and rushed to wipe him clean, her hands trembling. Adrian's face shifted from anger to fear because he realized the scene could ruin him. He started to say she attacked him. Nadia didn't argue. She didn't plead. She looked him in the eyes with a calm she didn't know she had. You don't get to be the victim of a story you wrote. She walked past him, took her phone, and called her father's old attorney. Then she called building security. Then she called the police. Not to destroy him, but to stop him from destroying her. Adrian tried to charm his way out. He said it was a misunderstanding, said she was unstable. But the papers, the transfers, the recorded calls, and the tenant statements were already waiting. The truth had teeth now. Within days, Adrian's accounts were frozen. His access to the properties was revoked. It was charged for fraud and misuse of assets. The city that once called him a rising star now called him what he was. A man who stole a life from the person he swore to protect. Nadia moved back into her father's old home for a while. The room smelled like cedar and thyme. She cried in places she hadn't cried since the funeral. But she also breathed for the first time in years, without feeling watched. She visited tenants, listened to their stories, fixed what needed fixing, and learned the work her father meant for her to inherit with pride. She hired a trusted team not to hide behind, but to stand beside. Slowly, her softness became strength, not because she hardened, but because she finally trusted herself. Months later, she stood in the lobby of that old office building again, looking at the sun through tall windows. A tenant walked up and thanked her for being fair. Nadia smiled, feeling her father near in the quiet way that matters. She had poured bleach in a moment of pain, but she had poured truth into her life after. And truth, unlike bleach, does not destroy what is clean. It only strips away what is. Fake, sometimes the worst betrayal, is not losing money. It is losing your own voice. Nadia got hers back.